Well, hello everybody, how we doing? This is the random name 951, and today we're going to be taking a look at the one of the variants of the PSP. And no, not the 3000, but today we're going to be taking a look at the PSP GO. See, this is a little guy here, very small, very compact, fits in this, like literally fits in my palm, or fits in my hand, not really my palm. See how compact it is? Still very futuristic looking for the year it was in. And just for size comparison, here is a 3000 model, and here's the Go. And you can see it's about only 2/3 the size of what the PSP was. Now the PSP wasn't that big to begin with. It's actually a lot smaller than the Vita. But the big difference between of course, the PSP 3000 is that the PSP Go is missing a UMD drive. And that is one way, most likely, how they were able to scale down the PSP so much was because they took out the little disk drive in here. So here's our PSP. We'll take a look at it. And I'll put the flash on for, yeah, let me just put the light on. So you can see here, it's a bit of a fingerprint magnet. But yeah, this one's got a little bit of wear to it. You can see here it's got a couple scratches and all that good stuff. A little bit of wear down here, and definitely wear on the back here. So where did I get it from and how much? Well, you know me, I'm always on the local Craigslist, local OfferUp ads, etc. I found this one on OfferUp. The seller was asking 60, I offered 40, and he said for sure. So I got this one for 40. It was only the console, and that's it. This is extra. I put on it, and then the um, charger was not included. I had my own. So 40 bucks. It was kind of a gamble because the seller said that he didn't even know if it would turn on. So a little skeptical, but everything looked to be good. And lo and behold, once it was charged, it turned on. So this thing's really cool. I mean, the thing is with phones, a lot of the times, most phones today can emulate PS1 fine. Even the higher end phones, like the Galaxies, I would say S8 and above. A lot of the Android phones can emulate PSP very well. So the PSPs and the PSP Go's are more for a nostalgia feel, just kind of I guess you could say the flex. Especially the PSP Go, it's something that you could put in your pocket, and then when you're at the restaurant or on the bus, for instance, I took this to Disneyland with me a couple of days ago, or I think it was yesterday or the day before, and just something to do while waiting in the lines, kill time. Just take it out, pop it open, and bam, got yourself a little portable PSP. Um, I love how everything's just compact and concealed. So the buttons, you got all the buttons on here. So you got your D-pad, you got your little control stick, your start select, and your X through triangle buttons. And then the PSP home button is up here, which is pretty cool. You can see here, activates there. And then you have your volume rocker on the top. I really do like that a lot more. It's better than having it on the side. If you're all into playing, you accidentally press it. Oh, you're all messing with the volume. On the sides, you have this is for to connect to the internet. It's the wireless for the WLAN, as well as the PSP Go supports Bluetooth. There also is an option for expandable memory. Fortunately, it takes something called M2, like a data little. It's like a micro SD card, but it's different because it's more proprietary. So the M2, it kind of sucks. That's kind of another thing that haunted the PSP Go. But that was the same. I think that was the whole thing behind the PSP Go, was to limit the piracy that the PSP had with it. With the PSP, it took the Memory Stick Duo, and a lot of these were, people hacked them, and then they had ones that were able to take a micro SD card in it, and you just hack it, and there you go, the ultimate little homebrew machine. So the PSP Go is kind of limited. You get a decent amount of storage, but it's not much. So these come standard only with 16 gigabytes of onboard memory storage. There are some mods you can do to expand the storage, but they're a little tedious in comparison to how easy it is to plug and play with just adding a micro SD card adapter in the memory stick dual slot. So you got two little front facing speakers. They do have some nice mesh to prevent dust from getting inside the system. The one thing I do really like about the PSP Go is that the screen, you'll never have to worry about dust getting under the screen. When you take these things apart, the PSPs, there's actually two parts. So there's this front face, the front chassis, and then this is just a plastic. And then there's a gap in between the LCD of the PSP and then the plastic. So that's how the dust, fortunately, the dust gets in through the speaker holes, and then it makes its way in and eventually just gets stuck under here. And it's not too fun taking these things apart. So that is one big upside to the PSP Go. Another good thing is that screen replacements are relatively cheap on these things, and that's because I don't think a lot of people have these in hand, so not a lot of PSP replacement screens has sold. What I mean by cheap is you could get a brand new PSP Go screen for $10 on eBay, which I think is a steal. I'm probably going to pick up like maybe 2 or 3 just to have them. I do notice with this system, it does have an issue where there's a buzzing noise, and the buzzing noise seems to come from the screen. I've plugged in the headphone jack. I've checked the speakers, and they seem to be fine, but I've read online, somebody on Reddit also mentioned that they hear a buzzing noise, and somebody commented that I guess it's a known issue on the PSP Go that the buzzing noise comes from the LCD screen itself. So I mean, I think it's worth investing $10, popping in a new screen, and it's not too bad. This one isn't too scratched up, but just to get that buzzing noise, away, and having a brand new screen on here for $10, that's not bad. So very cool. Of course, you can play your PS1 classics. You could play your PSP games, and you can put custom firmware on here. So I have, I think, C Pro 661, which is the newest custom firmware, and it is a how would you say, a untethered jailbreak or a permanent modification. It's permanent as far as like if you turn off the system and reboot it, you don't have to run some extra file in the background, which is nice. And then with that, you could get all the games on there that you can't find on the the PSP Go store. So for instance, Iron Hander, I do own this game, Iron Hander. The only thing is, the only way to get this game digitally on the PSN store is by having a Japanese PSN account, because for some reason the PS1 version of, or yeah, the Iron Hander PS1 game is only available in the Japanese PSN store for the PS1 classics. So, there's a lot of stuff. You could put just a whole bunch of games on here. Again, you are limited to your 16 gigabytes of onboard storage. I think it's after with all the firmware on there and all that, it's like only about 10-11 gigs available. Let's take a look at the home menu real quick, and it's the same as your regular PSP. There's nothing really special about it. As far as comfort, like how comfortable it is, like I have some pretty fat hands with some pretty big sausage fingers, right? But it's actually pretty comfortable playing it. The buttons are a little small. They're reminiscent to the size of the Vita buttons. You can see here the buttons on the PSP are much larger and much more comfortable, but the way this works out, it's compact, it's actually not terrible, and it works well with fighting games. You can see with my big old thumb, I could press 2 buttons at once, or if you want to go crazy, go like that. Start and select button are pretty cool. They feel more tactile than they do like clicky, but they work fine. And then the control stick, it's more like a little nub. It's very small in comparison to the PSP's control stick, but I find it works very well still. With that, with having a smaller radius to work with, my finger is able to easily, just work with the control stick. And of course, your D-pad, your L and R on top. And also on top, I like how they did the volume rocker. You have a dedicated music button and you have a brightness switcher. So there's 4 settings for the brightness. This is the lowest. Then you got brightness 2, brightness 3, and brightness 4 being the brightest. It's honestly not that bright when in direct sunlight. It works, but you're gonna need a max brightness outside. It works well indoors and in decently lit areas, but in direct sunlight you're gonna need it for sure on max brightness to get some sort of a picture on there to show up. And of course, you have your power and hold button on the right side. Hold does the same thing as before, it locks the buttons. So, if you accidentally press anything, or say for some reason you accidentally slide up the system, it won't turn on. So that's another thing. So just turn off the system real quick. So right now the system's like in a suspended state. If you put the hold button on, it will not turn on when sliding up. But when you put it in, like a standby setting, as soon as you slide up, it'll power on the system and you'll be ready to go. So I like that a lot. Again, 11 gigs is all I have right now. I think you probably get like maybe closer to, we'll say 13 gigs, because I have Gran Turismo on here, and that's about a gig right there. And then with all these PlayStation 1 games, that's about like another gig or two. So you get pretty much close to the storage that they advertise, which is about 16 gigabytes. The PSN store does work still. As far as like you have to manually search up the game you're looking for. I did buy a couple games. Like I bought Parasite Eve. Uh, I bought Dino Crisis, even though I do have a Dino Crisis 2. Bought Gran Turismo. Tekken 3, I put on there. Iron Hander and Tomba. I'm probably still gonna buy Tomba because it's $10. I mean, comparing to how much it costs, physical, which I do have the physical copy, it's relatively cheap. And of course, you got your 661 Pro stuff, but again, you don't need to use these. As you saw, I'm still on the custom firmware after restarting it. But yeah, I mean, PSP Go, I think it's still very plausible to use in 2021. It's more, just for nostalgia, for the retro look. Again, it still looks very futuristic. For even I would say that the look holds up very well in 2021 still. Another cool thing is it has these little rubber feet. See on the side here, and these basically make sure that it won't really slide anywhere too much, and then it kind of protects the back from scratching. The feet act as the first part the back of the PSP Go touches. So I mean, it's a very nice little compact PSP. And again, there is modifications to like upgrade the storage. Again, this uses a proprietary M2 storage, which is sad, but I have seen some M2, they call them dummy adapters, and it takes a bit of work, but I mean, I think it's worth it in the end. You'll be able to put like I would say up to a 500 gigabyte memory card if you want to, and have all the games on here. The only thing limiting the the PSP Go is probably its battery. The battery, I would say, lasts around maybe like 2.5 to 3 hours, like maximum. And that, of course, depends on your brightness, how loud your volume is, and all that. But for what it is, it's a pretty solid system, and I don't regret picking it up. I would say if you could find one for under 100, complete for sure. It's definitely a good pickup. These things on eBay sell for like 120, 140. Some of them don't even come with the cord. And this is basically going to become the Game Boy Micro of the Sony world soon. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys jump on the PSN store while you can. Again, I know you could hack these and just put the ROMs on there, but it's always cool to, do it how it was intended, just to, experience that nostalgic feeling, sign in, download the game straight onto here. Like I said, the ones I have, Dino Crisis, Parasite Eve, and even Gran Turismo. I gotta support Sony, man. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, guys, deuces.